Hello, this video will give a quick overview of the disease profile project. Let's not waste any time and begin. So our homepage is here. If you want to know where the due dates are, and sometimes we don't, just go to the homepage and then that's where things start, that's where things end. So for part 1 of the disease profile project, our first due date is September 27th. Okay, now that you know that, let's find out where we get our information. Head to the discussion board. And then on the discussion board, you'll see some new entries. Let's start off with disease profile project. So click to that forum and then project groups. All right, so this is where you'll find the groups that you've been assigned to. Just click on this file right here. It will have already been emailed to you as well. But when you look at it, you'll notice the list. Find your name on the list. If you don't see your name on the list, you got to let me know as soon as possible. Okay, there are a lot of people with similar names. Sometimes I'll accidentally put the same person twice. Next thing you want to do, once you find out what group you're in, you want to communicate with your group. So to do that, we go to our main discussion board and then scroll down, right? So here I get to see all of them. You're only going to see the group that you are in. So if you're in group 1, you would just click on group 1. And then here is where you'll find the details for your project. So you just click on that and then these links will get you through the memo. Now, the project. The basic premise of this project is that you are an employee of the Hawaii State Department of Health, and then you and your group are going to plan an event around what we're calling Microbial Disease Awareness Month. As part of that month, there are 3 major things that you're going to do as a group. So let's see what they are. One is that you're going to write a press release to announce this Microbial Disease Awareness Month, including the disease that you and your group have chosen to communicate to the public. The next thing you're going to do is provide a presentation at some point, right? This will come, that's part 2 of the project. This presentation will, I put here the Leeward YMCA, but if you're not on Oahu, if you're in a different place or a different part of the island, you're welcome to choose any place that you want to. But the idea is that you're going to communicate this disease, the ins and outs of it, to the public. The third part will then be to create a standalone poster that you will display in the public after you have given your presentation, right? So 3 parts split out over the semester, all right? Now, oftentimes groups will want to run and just work on all 3 parts. Please don't. Work on part 1 first. Once part 1 is submitted and it's been returned to you, then we work on part 2, okay? Also, what I'll often see is 3 people in a group, 3 parts. They will split each part to 1 person. Don't do that either. Make sure everyone is working on each part. So it's better to piece part 1 into 3 and then each person works and then have maybe 1 dedicated person who then will put everything together and to make it sound like it's one voice writing the whole thing, as opposed to splitting the whole project, right? And then you can have a different person for part 2 and a different person for part 3 taking over the lead, but everyone works on every part. Now, this project in and of itself, I'm going to go back 1, right? So this is our general overview. Remember what I said, part 1 first. So we click on part 1. Here are the details for part 1. Okay, so this is what we want to focus on. Not part 2, not part 3. You can put them in the back of your mind, but don't worry about it. All right, so we're going to do this we're going to do this and work only on part 1. All right, that's due September 27th. And then we're going to use Google Drive, so please use Google Drive. If you don't know how to use it, watch this video. Right? It's much more convenient to share and collaborate amongst all of us because we're not going to meet. Right? The other thing is important is that it's also easy to submit it. So use Google Drive, please. Don't work in Word. Don't work in any other program. Work in Google Drive. And then if you want to see some examples of what a Department of Health employee would put out for a press release, here are just a couple of recent examples that you can click on, and then you can see the general format that a press release looks like. Okay? Again, couple of things I want to reiterate for this project. You are members or employees of the Department of Health. You're not Leeward you're not actually UHCC students for this project. Okay, so you're employees of the Department of Health. So when you are producing the work, make sure that you write it as such. The other important thing about this project is that I want you to communicate this disease to the public. Okay, so write that to the level of your target audience, right? So this is not a hard research paper. I don't want to see pages and pages of complicated viral life cycles. And the general thing is if you don't really understand what you're writing, that's writing too much in depth, right? So remember your target audience, your aunties and uncles, right? Your parents, your neighbors. Those are the kind of people that you're going to speak to. Make sure you write to that level. What do they want to know? And then what should they know about the disease, right? So always try to anticipate what your audience wants to hear, and then make sure you speak to that. And then the third thing is that communication is key. We're all busy people, right? This is not a lot of work, right? Make sure we communicate. If you are busy right now and someone says, hey, can we work on part one? You say, I'm really busy. I have a ton of deadlines. I need to be able to finish this first, and then we can talk about the project maybe next week, and stick to that deadline. Conversely, if you say, in 2 weeks from now, I have like this crazy stuff happening, so I'd like to work on the project now, please, right? And then make sure that you work with each other. You're a team. Everyone wants to do one on this project, right? So make sure that you work as a team. Try not to be overbearing, get everyone's input, and then ultimately, if you put one person in charge of part one, they will have final say as to what that will look like. And then, of course, one day it'll be your turn to be in charge of a part, and then you get your final say as to what it's going to look like, right? And then just trust the team. So that's very important, communication. All right. Okay, so how do we choose topics? All right, so the project now is going to focus on a microbial disease. Make sure that you choose a microbial disease, right? And then when you have chosen, we go to our discussion board, disease profile project, and then project topic requests, right? So here are the basic criteria. Right? Choose your topic. It has to be microbial. So oftentimes I'll get asked if we can do things like diabetes or cancer. They're not microbial in origin. They don't count. All right. Once you have chosen, you post your group number, name of disease, just hit reply, post that in there, and then wait for me to approve it. And then once I approve it, I'm just going to reply and say group 1 approved. And then you'll actually notice that on your discussion in your discussion forum, I'm going to change the name to your, or add the name of the disease to your forum, so then you will know it's been approved, right? But just check the board. We have 26 groups, right? Some of us are going to want to do the same disease, and because there's so many groups, I don't mind that, but no more than 2 groups will work on the same disease, right? So it's first come, first choice. Okay, so make sure you get in there. But that being said, don't rush anything, right? This is a long project. The beginning of the project always takes a little while to get going, right? Sometimes communication is a little bit slower than I wanted. Definitely some of you want, right? But give it some time. So no need to panic, no need to rush. Okay, so that's important. I think that's the basic overall scheme of things, right? If you have any questions, post them on the discussion board so everyone can see. There's gonna be this feeling out period as you learn how to work with your group, and as you just trying to figure out what it is that you guys want to do, right? I do kind of like to have this thing be your responsibility in that I want us to trust our work, okay? There's a rubric provided for what is constitutes a good grade on a project, right? Use that rubric, trust yourselves, right? As a future professional, you're not going to always ask someone to check your work over. You are going to trust that you are doing the work correctly, right? And in the real world, there are no rubrics provided to you, right? But here we have a rubric. So trust that you can read the rubric, you can meet that rubric, discuss as a group if there are anything that you don't meet, or maybe it's not quite up to snuff, right? And then just make sure you fill that out. Ultimately, keeping in mind, it's communicated to the public. Remember your target audience. All right, so that's all I have to say for the project. If you have any questions, post them on the board.